Hey friends, this is Ian Khan at HIMSS 25, and I'm talking to innovators, leaders, and change makers. I've got with me Henry Connell, CEO of Canary Speech. We're talking about AI, the role of voice and speech in healthcare, and how that transformation is slowly becoming bigger, right?
Yes.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. It's a real pleasure to be speaking with you.
Excellent. Tell us what is happening and why we should pay attention to it when it comes to voice and speech.
Well, voice is the most complex motor function that we produce in the body. It's very, very rich in information. It's driven by the central nervous system. The central nervous system controls, if you will, all the instruments of the orchestra that create speech. The power of our respiration, the speed of that, the vibrational characteristics of our vocal cords, the movement of our lips, our tongue, our cheeks, all of it is something that happens self-consciously, but controlled under the central nervous system. If there is a defect of some kind, whether it's a cold or whether it's a progressive neurological disease, mild cognitive impairment, anxiety or depression, all of them impact on the central nervous system's ability to control and create language.
Excellent. Today at HIMSS, we're looking at many different things that are happening. A big conversation generally is artificial intelligence and how AI is changing many aspects of the healthcare industry, whether it's patient care, it's primary patient care, it's diagnostics, it's drug discovery. Help us understand your perspective from Canary Speech in terms of what are you guys innovating?
So about 9 years ago, Jeff Adams and I started Canary Speech. Canary is a reference to the canary in a coal mine, an early warning system. Our interest was to use the richness of speech. We gather 15.5 million data elements every minute of speech. Every 10 milliseconds, we take a slice of 2,548 discrete elements, sub-language level. Those elements are, as I mentioned before, self-conscious. They're not consciously controlled, so they're objective measurements. We use then AI and machine learning to correlate those elements of speech with the diagnosis of a doctor for a range of different diseases. And we build a mathematical algorithm that then can measure across the population, can measure speech independent of that diagnosis and provide a doctor with information about whether or not that disease might be present so they can explore it further. That's called clinical decision support tools.
Okay. And, when we, how receptive what stage are you at right now? Are you talking to customers? Are you doing use cases, early trials? Where are we?
So 9 years in, we've developed commercial products for a range of progressive neurological diseases. Huntington's, Parkinson's, MS will be out this year. Cognitive models for mild cognitive impairment and Alzheimer's disease. Behavioral health, anxiety, depression. We're adding PTSD this year. We're working right now with 4 different clinical centers developing autism and ADHD for early childhood assessment. All of those have been, the ones we're developing have yet to be commercialized, but the rest of them have been commercialized, along with things like the anxiety, depression, fatigue, that augment the information a clinician gets. This is fully integrated into products, and we're a partner with Microsoft, for instance. They announced a Dragon platform. Canary Speech works within the Microsoft environment to provide these in a high trust, secure environment for clinical partners, really in all parts of the world. We operate in Japanese, Spanish, and English at the moment, but we're adding Dutch and German. Okay,
good. When it comes to the data collection, the algorithm that powers Canary Speech, the kind of the complexity that goes into it. Help us understand that a little bit. How complex is that to be able, to do the algorithm part of it? Because you're working on many different diseases now. How are you innovating? We would love to know that without you revealing any trade secrets, of course.
Oh, sure. So Canary Speech has 13 issued patents and 12 pending patents in the US, in the EU, and in Asia. So that's public information at this point. You have to realize my business partner and I met 40 years ago. At that time, I was at the NIH doing research in neurological diseases. He was building mathematical models for the NSA to de-encrypt spy messages.
Wow.
He went on to build and lead the team that built Dragon Naturally Speaking. He also led the team to build the Amazon Echo.
Okay.
So we have a deep, rich history of technology. And when we got together 9 years ago in a bagel shop, we wanted to create a product that could be a companion in the toolbox of a clinical team member to help validate what their experience, what their intuition, what their training told them, to help validate that. Yeah. And to do that at the same time they were with the patient. And that's really what we've accomplished. The mechanisms by which we do this are unique enough that we have 13 patents, but we are capturing audio and then extracting these 15 million features in a minute, correlating that to the doctor's diagnosis, which is our ground truth. So that correlation can range from 80% up to 98%, 99% different diseases. And that becomes a very, very powerful tool to have in your bucket. And it's totally passive. We're non-invasive, non-intrusive in the relationship. We could be doing this measurement right now while you and I are talking.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's mind-blowing, honestly. It's something very...
The patient is fully informed. The doctor knows what's going on, but we're not impacting on their conversation. They're just talking. The normal flow of their conversation provides us with enough data to give insights into the diseases and the level of disease that an individual has. We then use AI to be able to give them a reflection on where the patient was the last time they sat in front of them in real time. We tell them there's a difference in their anxiety levels. It's elevated by 50%. So they see the person with as if they had their medical chart in front of them for certain elements of what they're discussing.
So I'm just trying to think. So let's say I visit my doctor the first time and they run the software in the background to do the assessment. So does it take that conversation as a baseline, as the first conversation? I don't know how it works, but I'm trying to come up with a scenario. And then as you meet your doctor again and again, it's crunching data and telling you, hey, something has changed or not changed. I'm trying to think, is there a measurement of a baseline? What if I was tired and I went to my doctor that day? How does it work?
And so generally we don't require a baseline.
Okay.
And generally meaning never.
Okay.
The central nervous system, which is really what we're measuring off of, is 99.999 the same in all individuals throughout the world. And so how the central nervous system controls the vocal cords, how the central nervous system self-consciously tells us how to expire, how to move our lips, how to move our tongue. All of that is not conscious, but all of it is controlled by the same ones and zeros of the central nervous system. And so once we have modeled across a population, it can be generally applied or applicable across even populations we haven't spoken to. Now, we always validate everything. In new languages, we validate, we develop and retrain our models when we're entering a new language. All of that's necessary. That's just the basis of medical science. It would be irresponsible not to do that. However, we have found that if my model for anxiety, having never spoken to you before, will accurately measure your anxiety. And not only that, we can say where you are in the population that we've measured, hundreds of thousands of people. So the next time you come in, the model knows where you were before from your medical record, if we're connected to it, and we generally are an integral part of the medical system. So we're connected to that. We can tell the doctor where your anxiety or depression was. If you have mild cognitive impairment, is it progressing? Are you fatigued at the moment? And the doctor might see you're fatigued and think, ask you the question, is your job the same? Have you been working? It's spring. Are you out in the yard a lot?
Yeah.
How's your sleep been? So we can give them that information almost like a blood profile.
Okay.
It's a voice profile.
Wow, incredible. It's really, truly remarkable. I want to ask you a parting question. What do you foresee happening in the next, let's say, 5 years of how we are progressing in terms of, where healthcare is and what impact such a model can have? What do you foresee? What are your goals for Canary Health for the next 5 years?
So in general for Canary Health, and this is a small picture, because the big picture is so much more important, I think, and it's the kind of thing that Microsoft is doing right now. In the small picture, Canary Health will continue to add to the number of diseases. We're working on the childhood diseases right now. We're adding MS, we're adding PTSD. Those things will continue. There are several more diseases on the roadmap. We will add new languages. This will become available really regardless of where you live in the world. And but in the bigger picture, when you think about the capabilities of Microsoft just introduced, and I'm not doing a commercial for them.
No.
They really just introduced a very, very powerful concept in the Dragon Copilot and the Copilot situation in general. Imagine combining the information that Canary Speech is gathering with other medical information and making that available to a remote place doctor when they're advising a local team on the treatment of a patient. All of that can be happening. So what we remove the barriers for healthcare. It will not matter where you live in the world. The quality and the availability of your healthcare can be fluent across that entire space. And that's what's so critical. The disparity across populations right now is something, honestly, I just think about all the time. Jeff and I put this together so we could be just one little component of something that could reach populations that otherwise would not be reached. Okay.
No, we love it. It's incredible, and we're floored with how technology is just helping us do so much that we wouldn't even think about. 5 years ago. 5 years ago, it wouldn't be very impossible.
Completely agree with you.
But thank you so much for joining us here on this short, snappy interview at HIMSS. Wish you all the best with Canary.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for keep innovating, please.